The changes to the 2021 technical regs this season have introduced an interesting side plot into Formula 1, leaving some teams rather happy and others less so. Mercedes and Aston Martin have been very vocal in complaining that the new regs have hindered their low-rake aero concepts and allowed teams like Red Bull, running higher-rake designs, to catch up. So unhappy is the Aston Martin team that they even want to begin lobbying the FIA to unlock the regulations to reduce its disadvantage. Sometimes, Formula 1 ends up being more of a soap opera than a top-class racing category. But what on earth is rake? What's the difference between the high and low rake concepts, and why have the regulations impacted some teams more than others? Here's a little explainer to get into it. But a quick reminder before we get started that if you enjoy our video, be sure to give it a like, comment to let us know, and subscribe for more videos like this one. So what is rake? Rake has nothing to do with the object you use to clean your leaves off your lawn, or something that you can employ to defend your house from the advances of Sideshow Bob. In aerodynamic terms, rake applies to the inclination of an F1 car when viewed from side on. A high rake car has a more visible difference in angle between the front of the car and the rear, where the diffuser, that bit of bodywork at the back of the car, is jacked up considerably and the front of the floor runs very close to the ground. A low rake car has a much reduced angle, and so the incline of the diffuser means the entire floor is much closer to the ground. Rake is one of the key parts in an F1 car's aerodynamic setup, and is one of the aspects that defines the concept of a car, or the central idea that everything else, like weight distribution and centre of gravity, have to be built around, which is why rake has to be designed in, rather than being an afterthought. So why do teams go for high rake designs? The idea behind increasing rake is to increase the usable volume of the diffuser, while also helping to accelerate the airflow underneath. The bigger the diffuser, generally the more downforce. By making the airflow move under the floor faster, the air underneath is of a lower pressure, and so the suction created develops a stronger level of downforce. As air moves from a small volume at the front of the floor to a large volume at the rear, the velocity of the air increases. The best way to describe this is by imagining putting your thumb halfway over a hose pipe. By creating a bigger difference between volumes, the water accelerates out of the hose pipe and sprays out at a much faster speed. However, for an F1 car, this has traditionally come with a greater level of sensitivity. As we mentioned, the low-rake teams offset the theoretical downforce disadvantage to the high-rake cars by running a longer wheelbase. They also had slots in the floor to offset that, by creating a seal to develop a much more consistent level of downforce compared to those with more rake. But after those slots were removed in the 2021 regulations, in a bid to reduce dirty air problems, the likes of Mercedes and Aston Martin have lost more downforce relative to the high-rake teams. So where did rake come from? Red Bull is the team generally considered to have introduced rake into Formula 1. The team's RB7 from the 2011 season had, when viewed from side on, a greater ride height at the rear to increase the volume of the diffuser. This also came at a time when exhaust-blown diffusers were all the rage, and Red Bull used the device to enhance the power and effect. With more rake built into the car, the downforce created by the floor was particularly effective, and Red Bull dominated the season. While other teams began to cotton onto the idea of adding rake to the car, they didn't do so quite in the same level as Red Bull did. Although the levels of rake continued to increase over the next couple of seasons, in 2017 it hit overdrive. The battle between low and high rake became greater as teams focused their designs around that concept. Mercedes decided to go for a low rake car, but opted for a longer wheelbase than the Red Bull, giving it more length to play with for its floor and thus more surface area. Red Bull, on the other hand, went for a high rake, shorter wheelbase concept. It could generate more downforce with less floor, but at the expense of efficiency. Those two teams continued to develop on those paths, while the rest of the field fits somewhere in between them on the rake spectrum. So what will happen to rake in the future? With Venturi tunnel floor aerodynamics set to return in Formula 1 in 2022 after previously being banned, rake may well become far less extreme than we've seen in the past few years. There will still be some advantage to having some, but with the floors receiving additional components to ensure the Venturi tunnels continue to work properly, it may well be that the effect is reduced, and running rake too high could reduce the effectiveness of those components. As ever, we won't know how the teams will approach the 2022 rules, and the focus could very well be different to the influence of rake in today's F1 rules. If you've made it to the end of this video, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for watching. Be sure to give us a like, a comment, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're new here. We've got plenty more videos coming to you across the F1 season. See you next time.